Welcome to another episode of NYLTA Podcast, where we talk about all things involving the New York LLC Transparency Act and how it affects business owners doing business in New York. My name is Tiffany Colon. I'm the COO of NYLTA, and I'm here with
Ryan DeFreitas, the Chief Executive Officer of NYLTA.com. So, what do we got today?
Today, we are talking about domestic LLCs, but not just domestic LLCs, but if they don't have to file, does that mean they're done?
Wow. Okay. So, So this is kind of different from, because we talked more about specifically domestic LLCs in the prior.
Also the history
Right.
and how this is so important for them not to be one and done.
So when we look at the transparency law as a whole, let's go to the federal BOIR.
Could you go a little bit into what does BOIR stand for?
So the Federal Beneficial Ownership Information Report, right? The transparency report. So under the administration of the Biden administration, that law was it was implemented.
Right, it was made into law.
Implemented. Took the words right out of my mouth. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do I finish your sentence?
Yes, you do. You sure do. So it was implemented. And it started January 1st, 2024. Yeah. Saw a lot of challenges. There was a lot of challenges with that law. There was different federal courts said there was an overreach and there was this going on and that going on. So
there was a lot of back and forth.
It was a lot of back and forth. So much confusion that people didn't know whether to look left or right. So I can only imagine when that time period, and I remember, but there was people didn't know when they came out. There was certain companies that were in the injunction where they didn't have to file. People were like, "Oh, well, we don't have to file." No, it's that company because they went to court. So there was a lot of challenges, and there was no clarification really, and there was a lot of people saying it was this and that. So it was just it was like a dusty, dirty old road where you can't see, right? Like you're on a big road and dust is flying and you can't see.
Dust.
So with NYLTA.com, we're not only there to guide you through this process, we're there to educate you. So let's go back to the federal BOIR, right? So came out January 1st, 2024. Okay, it's doing its thing. It didn't catch traction until probably August of that year
when people started hearing about it.
September, October, mad dash for that. Yeah. And then there was a lot of challenges. Federal courts, Supreme Court came in.
Like you mentioned injunctions.
And people didn't know what was going on. So you were supposed to file by December 31st, 2024. Then guidance came and said, "Oh, we're going to give you 15 more days." So January.
Do you remember why they said that?
Go ahead.
Well, because it was the fees and the penalties, because so many people didn't know about the federal BOIR.
Right.
And those penalties were $495 a day.
Actually, it kind of went up because it was a per diem kind of thing where it was like, it went up to like 520 something, 23 if I remember correctly.
It was in the 490s.
Don't quote me on that. I could be off by a few dollars.
By a couple of dollars. But it was because so many people had heard about it too late. There was a mad dash on December 31st to make sure people were getting this implemented, filed, submitted into their system. I'm pretty sure the system crashed because there was just an overload at the end of the year. Yeah. So then they said, all right, we'll give everyone 15 days.
Right. And then on top of that, you had LLCs, corporations.
Oh yes, this was S-corps.
This is every single business in the United States, which is like 28 million. So could you imagine a mad dash at the end, and then this federal system is getting overloaded? So January 15th
was the next date, which is only 2 weeks. Which it was then gaining traction. I think that was one of the first times that major news channels were really
it started
talking about
it. It was newsworthy, right?
Yeah.
So then after that, it was okay. People are getting it done. And then they said, we're going to come out with an interim final rule. And that's where the interim final rule said that This is when President Trump now had come into office. He was a few months, right? It was 3 months in.
3 months in, yep.
That's when the
next deadline was March 21st.
Correct. So the Treasury Department and as well as FinCEN gave guidance, and again, it's guidance, where the interim final rule, where it's not the final ruling, right? It's the kind of like, it's almost the final ruling.
It's almost there.
It's almost there.
It's
still confusing. So how does this relate back to NYLTA.com, right? We're talking about this.
Right.
Because the definitions in the NYLTA.com are the same exact definitions in the BOIR, the federal BOIR. Mm-hmm. So there wants to be less ambiguity, right? And
good job.
Right? And so I have a difficult time, again, saying that word, but I've been getting it right lately.
You got it.
Right? And, so they wanted to clarify that these laws, they have the same definition. So that's when New York said, and Kathy Hochul said, hey, well, since federally domestic companies don't have to file.
It's not right. Going to be implemented.
Now it's going to be implemented the same way. So domestic companies don't have to currently file. So that's why we want to bring how this all started.
Right.
Right? Because the last thing someone wants to be is they want to get hit with a penalty of $500 a day, right? Even with the NYLTA. Mm-hmm. The initial penalty is $250, right? So let's say for an LLC, you start business in New York January 21st of 2026, right? These are just dates. And you forget, and by February 27th, you didn't file, boom, $250. And then every day after that, it's $500 a day. What? That's a lot of money. Now,
right.
But we go back to domestic companies. Now, right now, right, you're safe. We're safe, right? Domestic companies are safe. But the challenge is, for how long?
Right.
Where have we seen these changes? Well, I just explained it to you.
Mm-hmm. We saw 3 different changes of dates of when the deadline is.
Right.
Because deadlines don't wait for anyone.
No, they do not. They do not.
As we've talked about in other episodes, being a business owner and an entrepreneur, it comes with responsibilities. Yeah. And it's how do we do this? Go with the guidelines and not get hit with these penalties.
Right. So when we look at this as a whole and we say, okay, can this change? Could this evolve more? Well, let's look at this from a standpoint of what happens when someone's empowered and someone changes, Democrat, Republican, and it changes at that time. It may not be right now, but it soon evolves, right? Because transparency is on a radar of a lot of different sources out in the political world. And we don't like to get too political, but
I think that's what unites us, really.
Right, that's what unites us because we have to stay ahead of the curve to deliver the criteria that people need.
Well, also the fact of whether we have someone who is Democratic or someone who's Republican, at the end of the day, I think everyone wants transparency and wants to do the right thing.
Right.
And when there are those bad apples, we want to make sure that they're called out.
Yeah.
Because you have so many, hard-working business owners who are doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So it really does bring us together because it's a common goal.
Yeah. And again, when you look at certain industries fall harder on this transparency than others. So if you guys really do some research, and we'll have blogs, and it's a lot of information. We're not going to try to throw it all out there now.
But where can they find that information?
They can find that information on our website. We have a page, a blogs page, where we talk about different categories, different subjects about what NYLTA faces, how NYLTA faces different industries, how it hurts different business owners, so on. I mean, we have such a good writing team. that come out with such good news sources and education, and we're educated by certain industries that tell us how does this affect you and why does this affect you, and whether if it's real estate or if it's if it's something different in like, I don't know, law or and going down the rabbit hole. So that's why NYLTA, we cover all those bases.
Because this is the first transparency law of its kind.
Yeah.
We have not had a law like this. And correct me if I'm wrong, but we're one of the first world countries who's a little bit behind when it comes to transparency.
100%.
Other countries have these laws already in place.
Yeah. There's, I don't know the exact number. Don't fact check me, but we're probably one of the last. And I want to say it's probably, several dozen, right? Several dozen.
Yeah, you have to
companies.
Put a number on it.
Right, we don't have to put a number on it. But just know that you have NYLTA.com, and don't look at us as just a filing company and doing this. We're kind of consultants in a way.
That's exactly what we do.
Yeah, we consult with you. We give you white glove service. We help you understand whether if it's through emails or contacting one of our agents. And that's where we're quite different, because the last thing you need is a penalty of $500 a day, whether you're a future domestic company and the law evolves, or you're a foreign company that's doing business now and you miss that date. The last thing you want is a $500 a day penalty. And then, that's going on for 2 to 3 weeks, a month. That hurts a business.
It does.
Yeah. So I'm glad we had this topic. So this is Tiffany and Ryan with another episode of NYLTA.com. Make sure, if you like our content, you love our content, make sure.
Oh, they love it.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely. Make sure you click the link on the bottom, check out our social sites, go to NYLTA.com for more information, for your free compliance review. And that's it for us here in the studios. This has been another beautiful podcast of NYLTA.com, where we make
compliance made simple.